Hello, students. Today we are going to talk about argumentative text. You may have heard this called persuasive text. They are very close to being the same thing. We're going to talk about these following terms: argument, claim, evidence, and then these big words here: rhetorical questions and direct address. Now, before we can jump into argumentative text, let's review informational texts because you're probably a little more familiar with those. Informational text is any essay or piece of writing that is trying just to get you information. Now, I want you to think to yourself, what is the structure of an informational text? What kind of paragraphs do they have? Well, they start with an introduction, which has a hook and a controlling idea. That controlling idea is the main idea of the whole text. Then there's going to be body paragraphs. Those body paragraphs will have main ideas that connect to the controlling idea and supporting details that give information about the main idea. And then we will end with a conclusion, which will generally restate that main idea, the controlling idea of the whole paper. Now, if you're familiar with this, then you are in luck because argumentative texts are structured in a very similar way. They have an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. But what you find inside those paragraphs is going to be a little different. So, in an informational text, you have a controlling idea, the main idea of the whole passage. An argumentative text has an argument, though, the big opinion the author wants to prove. What's the thing they want you to believe or do now that they've proven their opinion? While an informational text has a main idea that's about the controlling idea and supporting details that give information about main ideas, argumentative papers are going to have claims that are supposed to support the argument, but those claims are something that need to be proven. So we also have to include evidence, which proves that the claim is true. Let's look at an example. Here is a very short argumentative text. Dogs are a very popular pet. Over 63 million households in the US have a dog. Are they really the best pet, though? You might not realize it, but there is a better option. Compare them to a snake like a ball python. Ball pythons are way easier to take care of. They only need to be fed once a week. Ball pythons are also safer than dogs. While dogs kill 30 to 50 people per year in the US, there has never been a single recorded death caused by a ball python. It's obvious that ball pythons are the superior pet. All right, so now think for a moment, what is the argument? What is the big opinion that the author is trying to get you to agree with? It's right there. Ball pythons are better pets than dogs. Now, please notice that in this text, the argument comes at the very end. Sometimes the argument in these kind of texts can be in kind of weird places. The very beginning, the very end, occasionally in the middle, but you're always just trying to find what is the big opinion that the author is trying to get you to agree with. So now that we have argument, let's talk about claims and evidence. Claims are going to be those things that connect to the argument to support it, and evidence prove the claims are true. Now let's pause real fast, and I want to talk real quickly about author's purpose. If you're asked about author's purpose, that is the question of why the author wrote the text. Big categories this can fall under. There is persuasive text, so that's trying to argue something, trying to convince someone of your viewpoint. There's inform, which is to like educate or explain, and then there's entertain, like telling a fun story. So if you're asked to figure out the author's purpose, you're going to think to yourself, what's the argument and who is it for? So what is the author's opinion and who are they trying to convince? Look at this example for that passage we just read. Why did the author likely write this text? So you got to think, what was the argument? The argument we said was that ball pythons are better pets than dogs. So who is the author trying to convince? Take a moment to look at these options. All right, B is our best option here, to argue that pet owners should get ball pythons. So this covers their opinion, right? This matches up with the argument, the opinion the author has, and it addresses who this piece is probably for, people who own pets. So here's our first claim. Dogs are a very popular pet. That is a claim. We need evidence to prove that that is a true statement. What is the evidence that dogs are popular? Well, it's right here. Over 63 million households in the US have a dog. That sounds pretty popular to me. How about this claim? Ball pythons are easier to take care of than dogs. What's the proof that that is true? It's right here. They only need to be fed once a week. That's evidence that they're easy to take care of. How about this claim? Ball pythons are safer than dogs. What's the proof that that's true? It's going to be right here that dogs kill 30 to 50 people every year, and ball pythons don't kill anybody. Now, you're probably noticing that all of our pieces of evidence here have numbers in them: 63 million, once a week, 30 to 50 people. These kind of statistics or number facts are going to be really common pieces of evidence. There's other types of evidence that you can have, like quotes from experts, but having numbers from like surveys or studies is going to be really common as well. So if you're reading argumentative text and you see a lot of numbers being thrown around, pay attention to them. It might be evidence. All right, now we got to hit our two fancy new words here: rhetorical questions and direct address. The key words here are questions and direct. A rhetorical question is when the author asks a question in the text, and direct address is when the author is writing directly to you, the reader. Now, there were examples of these in that passage. Are they really the best pet, though? Is a rhetorical question. And you might not realize it, but there's a better option: is direct address. This one's a question, this one's talking directly to you. Now, you might be asking, why do authors use these? These are tools in that author toolbox, part of their craft to help make their writing more persuasive. The key here is you got to think about, how would you answer this question? And then, how does the author want you to answer the question? Because if you can figure that out, then you're going to know why they included it, right? They include these kinds of things to make you try to agree with them more, because you're automatically going to start answering the question and trying to think about what their answer would be. All right, that's all I got for you today. Best of luck with the rest of your lesson.